Hi everyone, welcome back. We're going through 4 project cost tools that you absolutely must know from the PMBOK guide and for your project management career. If you've been following along so far, we're working with a project called Pet Buddy, and here are the people from the Pet Buddy business that we are working with. We've got Samantha, the business owner, who kicked the project off with a nice business case, and what she wants to do is to create a mobile app that links pet owners with pet sitters so that people can find places to stay for their pets when they're on vacation. She currently runs a dog stay care herself, but she wants to branch out into this mobile app to help others find the same thing. It's going to be the Uber of pet stays, is how they're pitching this idea. And the project cost tools that we're going to look at are our project budget, reserves, and funding milestones, cost attributes back into our work breakdown structure dictionary, and commercial databases as well. If all of this sounds like gobbledygook, let's get started and we'll show you what we're talking about. The first thing we're going to do is go back to our work breakdown structure dictionary. Remember, this is where we have all of our scope, and it's really a nice database of all of our scope and project information. We recently, for our schedule, just put the duration estimates for each of these items. And now with our team, we're also going to estimate the cost of each of these items. So here we are here. We can go through and estimate these with the team and then put these back into our work breakdown structure dictionary. So now we know for each item how much we estimate that these are going to cost. And it's all in the one place. Just a brief note while we're here on commercial databases, to estimate these things, we could go to existing commercial databases. This would be places that have information on what we're trying to deliver to give us an idea of how much it might cost. Now, this is going to vary depending on the industry that you're in. If you're in construction, you might have some pretty clear commercial databases that give you a really nice idea of what the cost is going to be, and it can get pretty close. Or the same thing in software, we might have existing ideas on how much these things will cost. So we can estimate these with our team, but we can also get additional data from any of these databases that exist out there in the real world. We don't just have to put this in our work breakdown structure dictionary, we can also add these items or add the cost items to our work breakdown structure. If you want to visualize it like this, now we can do our bottom-up estimating, which is where we have all of the small items like work packages or user stories, and then we add them all together to get the cost for the feature, and then we add all the features together to get the cost for our project. So we're gradually aggregating all of those costs to get the overall cost. Now, once we've done that, we can put that together on our budget. So with our budget, as you can see, we've got our items down the left-hand side here, and then we've got how much we budgeted for these particular items. As we go along on our project, we're going to either spend more or less. And we can see here in red, we've spent more, and in green, we've spent less. So it does that automatically, which is really, really nice. And then at the end, for our total, and I'll just bring this in a little bit. There we go, that's a bit nicer. We can see as well if we've spent more for that particular feature, which is red, or less, which is green. So what we've budgeted versus what we've actually spent. And when we put that together, we can actually put that together on a nice chart so we can see how we are tracking. This is our actual cost in green, and what we've budgeted, our planned value, is in orange. That's our ideal trend. So over the course of the Pet Buddy mobile app, we have spent a tiny bit more, not too much more, which is nice, but this is something that we'll have to manage as project managers. Now, the last thing is, two things. Our approved project budget will include contingency reserves and management reserves. Now, in the real world, you may not have the benefit of these. Sometimes projects just don't include them, but what we're going to use here is contingency reserves for any known risks. We've got our estimates for the main features, and on our project, we've got a contingency reserve for any known risks, which we're going to add for $35,000. We've also got a management reserve for any unforeseen scope or project changes that will be approved that we need to do, and that's $80,000. Now, we don't get that money automatically, but it will go into our overall project budget, making it $880,000. But what we're going to do is have periodic funding requirements. So for our contingency reserve and management reserve, that will need to be approved and only used as required. So hopefully we don't have to use these two things, but if we do, we've got the milestone requirement or the funding requirement here outlined in our plan. So for our contingency reserve, the risk response has to be approved by our business owner, Samantha Young, and the management reserve, any changed or additional scope outside the project budget has to be approved by our project sponsor, Samantha Young, as well. And then we have other periodic funding. So we start out with $200,000 and we get more funding just as long as the project is working. If it's not, then it may be cut off. So we do need to see consistent releases coming through over the project life cycle. And here's what that's going to look like just on a milestone chart. We start off with our initial $200,000 to get the ball rolling. And as we're delivering and as the project is progressing along, and if we see sufficient progress, then we've got release 1, 2, 3, 4, and ultimately the project to be completed and released at the end. And those are 4 and maybe a bit more of our cost tools that we're going to see on our project and in the PMBOK guide.